Hi folks, Wingman checking in. Today we're going to be talking about a serious topic. I'm going to be going camping in about a week, and I'm going to take a couple, 2-3 days, go up to local mountains. I'm going to stay in a campground up there, play around, do some videos for y'all, do some testing, maybe even do some more squirrel hunting. But the wife was concerned, I'm going by myself, and that brought up a topic of how prepared are you when you go camping for any sort of security threat. So I'm going to title this video, and it's going to be called Preparedness Camping. Now, with that said, I'm welcome any video responses if you have a comment to make. And I just want this to get you thinking about camp security when you go out. Because whether we want to believe it or not, the world out there is not a safe place. And unfortunately, a lot of violent crimes are starting to invade into the backcountry. It's no secret, that I've mentioned in many of my videos that a lot of times I'm in the backcountry, I'm really close to the border. And there's a lot of nefarious things that go on down there with drug trafficking, human trafficking, and just a myriad of other crimes that happen down along the border. With that said, even in our national parks, in our national forests, up and down the state of California and across the country, there's gangs that have infiltrated the national forest that use it to cultivate drugs. There's all sorts of illegal activity with meth labs and, individuals that are either running from the law or they're fugitives of justice for some violent crime. Who knows? So you have to keep that in mind now, and it's unfortunate that when we go out with our families, when we go out with our kids, that we're thinking that, we're out here in the woods, we're all family, we're waving hi to everybody, and we're thinking that everybody is innocent, and not everybody has the most innocent of thoughts. But with that said, what level of security does one bring? There's a lot of state, local laws, county laws, federal laws that are on the books where you can't always bring a firearm to a campground. You can't always bring a certain length blade to a campground. Some states have blade length restrictions. Just a few violent crimes. I went on the internet. I got a few cheat sheet notes here that I'm going to read. These are things that have happened on just the Appalachian Trail, with through hikers through the years. One, a fugitive met a hiking couple in Georgia and killed a man. A woman hiking alone in Tennessee met a man who cooked her breakfast, then killed her with an axe. This was in 1975. Here's one. Randall Lee Smith killed campers Robert Montford and Susan Ramsey in Virginia in 1981. I mean, this stuff is right out of the headlines even today. People getting robbed in campgrounds, people getting assaulted, people getting sexually assaulted. It's things that are happening, where the rangers are all armed now. And a lot of times out in the backcountry, the rangers are outgunned. So if we're thinking that we're going to make a 911 call and Ricky Ranger's going to show up to save the day, they may be outgunned by a group of people, and a lot of times if they radio in, help may be half hour, or more away, and that's the old saying, when seconds count, cops are minutes away. So we have to ask ourselves, what level of preparedness do we do? Now, for one, there's 6 things that I found, while I was surfing the net that are some tips on this. Now, for one, I make it no secret. When I go camping, whether it's with the family or whether I'm by myself, I'm carrying a handgun. I just am. I figured that I'm responsible for my own personal safety and the safety of the people in my party. And I may not disclose to everybody in the party that I'm carrying a handgun. That's on a need-to-know basis. But there's going to be some security, and I'm going to make sure that as a man, I'm going to do my best effort to ensure that my family is secure as I can be in a campground. A lot of people will say, well, geez, wingman, what's the threats that are out there? Well, you know, I've talked about it before. A lot of times I'm hiking in cougar country. And no, we're not talking about the middle-aged ladies that hang out at the VFW on a Saturday night. You know, we're talking about cats, 150 pounds, 200 pounds. You know, that's a viable threat, especially out here in the West. You know, I've seen a few while I've mountain bike ridden up in the mountains, while I've 4x4'd. They're out there. Down here in SoCal, I don't have to worry about bears, but if I get a little bit farther north, bears are a concern, you know, especially in the Sierras. So if somebody in my party decides that they're not going to use good judgment in their cooking and their camp cleanup, and they wind up putting something with fragrance in their tent, or they've smelled like food, or they bring in their pots and pans or some munchies in their tent, and all of a sudden, you know, they got a bear invasion. You know, there's countless stories of kids in Yosemite or whatever being pulled out of tents because bears smelled, you know, munchies that they had in the tent, or they smelled some deodorant or toothpaste or whatever. You know, then you have the element of maybe locals that are a bad element in society, and they're going to prey on the people that come up to their towns and camp in, quote, their woods, because most people are territorial. They don't like people coming into their area. And when they see some city slicker coming in, you know, he's pulling up in his BMW, they just got their brand new Coleman tent, and they still got all their stuff still in the boxes with the tags hanging off them. You know, they're easy pickings. There's always the time that you hear, you know, especially along the beach communities where there's campgrounds along the beach, that people sleeping at night, and you know, the homeless element jumps fences and takes all their camp gear or whatever, and they're gone. So how do you protect yourself? You know, do you use pepper spray? Do you carry a knife? But what if they're bringing guns and you got a knife? You know, that's things that you got to think of. So here's a few things, 6 points that I'm going to read real quick, and then I'm going to post the question to you. You know, number one, they post on here is try to select popular campgrounds or visible campsites in national forests near a road or town. Well, we just talked about that. Near a road or town, you might be easy target. You know, I'm just being the devil's advocate on that. You may be an easy target from people that are not friendly and they're just looking for a quick hit and run. If camping in remote locations, always have a form of effective personal protection like a firearm, assuming you are legally allowed to possess that in your location. Well, that's what I talked about. You know, as a person responsible for the party that I'm in, I'm sorry. I'm making a personal choice that I'm going to carry a firearm. It's just something that is a peace of mind for me. You know, obviously if I have little kids and stuff, I'm going to secure that firearm in a responsible manner. But I'm also going to have it where I'm able to maybe deploy that in a moment's notice if need be. It says, if leaving your site, even for a short hike, always lock your vehicles and campers. You know, all too often I see that where I'm up there camping, or even on day hikes, and sometimes I'm cruising through campgrounds, and how many times do you people see that people are leaving their stoves out, people are leaving valuables out. There's always somebody, you're leaving your cooler available. You know, you're leaving your, I don't want to say your tent, you know, obviously you're not going to pull up your tent and stake and run, but, you know, you're not securing things that are just easily able to just grab and go. You know, your camp lanterns or flashlights or camp chairs, just throwing out a few things like that. It says, don't leave valuables in your tent, lock them in your car. Be surprised how many times You know, people think, oh, we're up here in the woods, we're just having fun, you know, hey, we're all family. And then people leaving their video cameras, like I'm recording this with, or people leaving their purse or their wallet. Oh, I just left it laying on the sleeping bag. Well, hey, somebody came by, unzipped the tent, did a hit and run, grab and go. Now, you know, you've got identity theft. They've got your ID. They know where you live. You know, it's just things to think about. You know, at least in your car, hidden away in your car, not in plain sight, because we see that all the time. People leaving stuff in plain sight, whether it's their purse or their iPhone or their laptop, whatever. You know, and a window gets popped, and then they wonder why their stuff was stolen. You know, you need to secure this stuff out of sight. Here's another bullet point. Keep an eye on your children. Don't let them go hiking or bike riding alone. I know this sounds silly, but you know, we don't know who's camping 4 or 5 sites down. Could be a sex offender. Who knows? You know, and they're looking for easy play, and they think, oh, we're up camping, you know, that gentleman's not going to hurt anybody. You need to be mindful all the time of who's out and about, who's coming into your camp. I would never walk into anybody's camp without their permission, even in the backcountry. You know, if nobody's in that camp, I don't even go near it. Because one, you don't know who's watching you from afar. You know, when I'm backcountry camping, I'm out in the Sierras or even local when I do some, you know, bushwhacking camping. I'm looking for areas. If I see prints or whatever in activity, I'm scouting the area out to see what's going on. You just never know. I don't want any visitors to show up in the middle of the night while I'm asleep, and now all of a sudden they got the drop on me. And that being said, I would never go into anybody's camp without their permission. If they're not around, stay out of their camp. That would probably solve 98% of your problems right there. You know. Here's another one. Be mindful of your neighbors. If you get an uneasy feeling, ask the host to move you to another site or try to find one in another campground. You know, they always say that sixth sense, right? I've had that intuition that something just isn't right. Hey, maybe the people next to me, you know, I don't have a good feeling about that. You know what? I'd rather have upset kids, upset wife, maybe, and have to move down, you know, to the other side of the campground, or maybe even to another campground, as opposed to half a day later a fight ensues or an argument ensues or some sort of, you know, illegal activity comes up. You know, they're drinking, getting loud in the middle of the night, and all of a sudden things get a little crazy and a little dicey. You know, these are just things to think about. So we're going to cut this video short here now. We've been running for about 8 minutes, 9 minutes. So I'm going to challenge you folks. Let's do a VR response. Try to hit me with some ideas on what you would do for camp security. Now I'm talking about developed campgrounds. I'm not talking like backwoods stuff. You can put backwoods stuff in there if you choose. But you know, we're talking about like National Forest drive-in, car camping, campgrounds, you know, group campgrounds, things like that. So this is Wingman. I invite your thoughts. I always thank you for watching the videos. Just giving you some food for thought today. Always out there, be safe, folks. This is Wingman signing out. Take care. Until the next time.